KWT slaying.
Salama family, salama. How y'all doing today? Hope you're blessed and highly favored. So sorry about having to push it back. I was dealing with little health issues earlier, so I had to push it back. Oh well, part of life, right? So let's get started. All right, 2 Timothy 3:7. Always learning, but never able to come to a knowledge of the truth. Now, this is what we see all throughout the world, and definitely what we see in really everywhere. I mean, from Eurocentric Christianity to Israelite communities to you name it, right? Always learning and never able to come to the knowledge of the truth. Why is that? It's because a lot of people are in captivity and they live like slaves. Because if you know the truth gonna make you free. Now, it's not easy finding out the truth. You have to dig. You have to research. You have to use them brain cells that the Most High has given us. You have to take things apart and put them back together again to get the truth. You have to speculate to get to the truth. Why? Why do you have to speculate? Because people then lied. People then moved the boundary markers. People then moved and lied about rivers, oceans, continents. Think about it. They didn't told you we spinning at 10,000 miles a second. But your senses tell you otherwise. Your senses tell you this world is flat like a pancake. Your senses tell you that when you walk down the road, it's flat. When you're in an airplane, it's flat. But no, the brainwashing got you thinking it's spinning at 10,000 miles a second. And this is how I feel dealing with a lot of people. Because common sense, as I've said before, is not common. And to be honest with you, when you're young, you're expected to believe some lies because you're learning and you have to get rid of some of the baggage. But as you become an adult, you should be going more towards the truth. Hey, the world is flat. I'm a flat earther, if you didn't know. We have a dome over our head, in case you didn't know. It's called a firmament. I believe that. I see a rainbow. Why do we get rainbows? Because the sun shines through a prism and you get all the colors. Why do you have a rainbow that's shaped like a dome? I'm just asking. See, when you listen to your senses and use common sense, you're going to come to a whole new evaluation. And we're going to talk about some of the common sense things that we should be doing and questions we should be asking. But a lot of people, they follow their mores, they follow their teachers, and they follow their, pastor, and they don't do one lick of research themselves. Do you know why your Koba's so tight on moving? I'm not easily moved. Because I did the research. I'm not saying I'm 100% right on everything, but I'm firm on the positions that I take because I do a lot of research. So when I come and I say things, it's not off the cuff of my head. I've done the research. But anyway, let's look at this. We're going to look at some clippers of this video, and some of y'all saw it. And this is by Brother Go Black.
There are many people believe that you all took this from the Israel people there in Northeast Africa. But you're saying this has been with you all in your lineage,
yes,
for hundreds, if not thousands of years.
Yes, I just mentioned mine.
Yes. You just mentioned just yours. Okay, and we see here, if you all can see, that the star also.
Yeah. That's what we put on anywhere we go.
You put it on.
Yes.
Okay, and you've already explained the purpose of this, so I just wanted to you all give the chance to debunk, rebuke those sayings that you all are taking the idea from Israel, yet you're saying this is original and it all has a meaning.
Yes.
Let me get to the menorah.
Yes.
First of all, let's start here. This is your name.
Nzeuku Idwere God.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Nzeuku Idwere God.
Yes.
A high chief from Idwere God.
Okay, gotcha.
That's the meaning.
Mm-hmm. The menorah.
Yeah.
You all call this what do you call this right here?
We call it Izuna Bota.
Okay.
Izuna Bota.
Okay.
Look at now in Igbo, we have 4 days as Igbo Native Week. First, Eke, Orio, Afo, Nkwo. Eke, Oria, Afo, Nkwo. So between this middle is this. Look at now this step. We are the descendants of Eri. Eri is the son of God. 1, 2. That's what we decide.
Okay.
God, Eri, and this is the root.
The root.
Yes.
Okay.
So for here we call it Izunabo Ta, and not what that name you give. And our place would, when you have 7 Igbo native weeks, next 1 month.
All right. 7 Igbo weeks makes 1 month. That's interesting. Keep that in mind. Now, I see some of y'all talking about the brother clothes with the lace on, and I'm like, okay, he looked like a grandmother, but hey, that's their culture. I'm not gonna flag the brother for it, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, I was like, that wouldn't go too well over here, right? So, but here's the thing. The other thing that they talked about is about the star. And they were talking about the star and how they had the star first before the Ish people. And, they have Erie in the midst of the star, right? But as we know from the scriptures, right, the Most High talked about the star of your God, Remphan. Our people, I told you, there's a reason. There's a reason we went into captivity, right? And the star of your God, Remphan. So Go Black asked him, okay, well, what does the star represent? What do you do with it? Well, right? So they said, well, we draw it on the ground and we stand in it, right? And I guess whatever they do, they speak some words. I mean, that seems like typical witchcraft to me. You draw your little pentagrams or whatever it is, you star on the ground and you step in the middle of the circle. But the thing that we don't understand, our people started a lot of this stuff and involved in a lot of this stuff. But here's the thing. The Most High still loves us. But there is a reason we went into captivity. Yes, we didn't worship other gods. We didn't did witchcraft. We had idols. Now, I know like most of y'all, like me, be like, Lord, I ain't do that. Can we take this curse off of us for now? But that's not how things work, right? Let's listen to some more because they have some interesting point, and I'm going somewhere with this, right? I'm going somewhere with this because I want to make a point.
Weeks. Next 1 month.
Okay. So people understand what you're saying. These are the 4 days, because you all only have 4 days in a week.
Yeah, in a week.
363 days in a year.
Yeah.
So you're saying what you were mentioning was the first day, second day, third day, fourth day. The first day, second day, third day, fourth day.
Yes, this is the root.
And this is the root.
Yes.
From Ere, from God to Ere.
Yes.
The steps.
So each of the day connected to Ere.
It's each of the days connected to Ere.
Market day connected to Ere. Yeah.
Each of the market day connects to Ere.
Yes.
Who connects to God. Okay. Gad, not God.
God. G-A-D.
Right. We want to make sure we clarify that.
Yeah.
G-A-D, the tribe of Gad.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure we clear that because Ere's father was Gad.
Yes.
So we want to make sure. Okay. What does this means? The weeks, the market weeks.
Yes.
Okay. And your calendar is based off of the 4 days of the week.
Yes. Makes 1 week.
Which makes 1 week.
Yes.
Okay.
And 7 weeks makes 1 month.
7 weeks makes 1 month.
In our local calendar, in Igbo calendar.
Yes. I asked the question.
Yes.
Of how do y'all determine the seasons and the months? You said the first month is when?
The first month is March ending into April.
Is the first month.
Yes, that's the first month of the year.
Okay.
Now, many Israelites say that, right? This is when the new year start, right? That's their first month. So, listen to this real quick because it's interesting, and I think it put a perspective on it where people are going and trying to find their calendar and their interpretation of the calendars, and there's a lot of nuances in all this stuff.
Yes.
And then you count 7 weeks and you go to the next.
Yes. Yeah. Next month.
The next month.
Yes. We'll count with the moon.
You count.
We'll go with the moon.
You'll go with the moon.
We don't go with the calendar. We'll go with the moon.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So they go with the moon. That's what he said, right? So some of the documents you read today about modern Israel and modern Judaism, right? They go with the lunar solar. The reason why they go with the lunar solar is because there's some Babylonian mixed in with Israelite traditions. Now, here's an article. The calendar of ancient Israel. Now, it says, let me go a little up. It says, without wishing in the least to minimize this point, which must be conceded to have considerable weight, we seem to be compelled, however, to reject the hypothesis that both calendars referred to by Ezekiel were solar. For quite apart from the improbability a priori of meetings two such calendars among the Jews, but very few are found anywhere at that date, it must be clear that one of the two calendars brought into comparison was either the current Babylonian calendar, so that's why a lot of people confused. That's why you got this lunar solar thing, the Babylonian calendar, or the pre-exilic Israelite calendar, both of which were what? Lunar. Both were lunar. So as you heard the brother say, he said that they followed the moon, which is a lunar calendar. We have come to know a good deal about the Babylonian at different periods, and every indication showed that it was lunar, the anomaly being adjusted first by occasional, later by periodic intercalation of a lunar month. And we shall presently see that all the evidence regarding the ancient calendar of Israel requires us to regard it also as lunar.
Gad, not God.
God,
Not God.
G-A-D.
Right. We want to make sure we clarify that.
Yeah.
G-A-D, the tribe of Gad.
God.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure we clear that because Eri's father was Gad.
Yes.
Yes.
So we want to make sure. Okay. What does this means? The weeks, the market weeks.
Yes.
Okay. And your calendar is based off of the 4 days of the week,
Yes.
Makes 1 week.
which makes 1 week.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And 7 weeks makes 1 month.
7 weeks makes 1 month.
In our local calendar,
In
in
our
Igbo calendar.
calendar.
Yes. I asked the question
Yes.
of how do y'all determine the seasons and the months? You said the first month is when?
The first month is March ending into April.
Is the first month.
Yes, that's the first month of the year.
Okay.
Yes.
And then you count 7 weeks and you go to the next
Yes.
Yeah.
Next month.
month.
Yes. We'll count with the moon.
You
We don't,
count-
yeah, we'll go with the moon.
You'll go with the
We
moon.
don't go with the calendar. We'll go with the moon.
Okay.
Yes.
And that will dictate when the next month comes in
Yes.
Yes.
by either it's a full moon, half moon, a crescent moon,
Yeah.
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you all go off the moon.
Yes.
But I want to make sure I'm clear of this. So this stands for what?
This stands for 8 days making 2 weeks.
Okay.
And in these 8 days making 2 weeks, look at it now. I say each of the day connected to Eri.
Yes.
Like now, when we have 8 days, okay. Like now, as I'm putting here, we are male.
Yeah.
When you have a male child, if your male child is born to when you count the 8 days,
Mhm.
that's the day
Of
of
circumcision.
circumcision and giving him name. You can't pronounce a name to a male child until he's 8 days on earth.
And he has a circumcision on the 8th day.
On
Yes.
the 8 days.
Okay.
All right. So you can't give the circumcision. I mean, you can't give a name to the child until he gets circumcised on the 8th day, right? Luke 2:21. On the 8th day, when it was time to circumcise the child, talking about Yeshua, he was named Yeshua, the name the angel had given him before he was conceived. See, this is why I tell you all that unless you understand the African traditions, the African root of what you call Judaism, right? Or Yahwism, right? Unless you understand that, you're not going to understand it. Because a lot of the stuff people do today is based upon these modern-ish folks, right? And what they teach. Now, some of the stuff may cross over, but they have no understanding. But here we see, just as they stated, circumcised and named on the 8th day. Yeshua was circumcised on the 8th day, right? And he was named on the 8th day. That's what he said, right?
Moon.
You
We
can't.
don't, yeah, we'll go with the moon.
You'll go with the
We
moon.
don't go with the calendar. We'll go with the moon.
Okay.
Yes.
And that will dictate when the next month comes in
Yes.
Yes.
by either it's a full moon, half moon, a crescent moon.
These 8 days making 2 weeks. As each of the day connected to Eri.
Yes.
Like now, when we have 8 days, okay. Like now, as I'm putting here, we are male.
Yeah.
When you have a male child, if your male child is born to when you count the 8 days,
Mhm.
that's the day
Of
of
circumcision.
circumcision and giving him name. You can't pronounce a name to a male.
So as I showed you, Yeshua was circumcised on the 8th day and given a name on the 8th day. Now, this also ties into the names of the weeks, right? And the Ashanti culture, things like that, where they give names depending upon the days that you were born, right? So like if you're born on a Thursday, I think the name on Thursday is Yah or Yahweh or something like that. I think it's Thursday, right? So it's interesting that we see that these, what we call the menorah, I can't even pronounce what they call it. What we call the menorah represents the days, right? See, this helps us to understand the Bible, right? This helps us to understand what we see in the book of Revelation with representing the church, right? What they call the church, right? I don't even like to use that word. But the vine, the thing in the middle, according to him, represents Erie, right? Why? Because he's the leader. But we know in scripture that it truly represents Yeshua, right? Because Yeshua is the true vine that we are grafted into. But this is representative of people who belongs to the vine, who were circumcised, who came to life, right? Because they're a part of the vine that they get life. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in here when you look at the scriptures from this viewpoint, okay? So there's a lot more, but I'm gonna play a few more, a minute of it, just so you can hear the rest of it, and then we're gonna move on. Because I'm making a point today that we have to use intellect. We have to use, research. We have to move away from following man. You need to do your own validation, and you definitely have to use common sense. I'm sorry, common sense ain't common, and most people just don't want to use it if they do have it.
Male child until he's 8 days on earth.
And he has a circumcision on the 8th day.
Yeah,
Yes.
the 8 days, according to the Igbo tradition.
Yes.
Okay.
That's
The
our
supremacy of that our
And
father.
that 8 days is what is represented here.
Ah, we're
Yes.
getting somewhere.
So we call it a kenabo. Two major, that's 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay.
In Igbo local calendar, 8 days is 2 weeks.
Yes. Okay. Gotcha.
So in that 8 days is when circumcision take place.
Okay.
And the female cannot put on this.
Yeah, a female child cannot put on this.
Okay. Okay.
This sign is made for male child.
Supremacy of our father. The 2 steps.
Say that again.
Supremacy of that our father.
The premise.
God theory.
Yes, God. The major
Yes.
part of it is God,
God.
and the
other one
lesser part of it is
is
Aaron.
2 steps.
The root that
Yeah.
is connected to this circumcision
Circumcision
that
the
produce
8 days.
a male child.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the meaning of this.
Okay. Got you. I got you.
Okay, you are clear now.
The circumcision that produces a man child who's circumcised and named on the 8th day. You can't tell me we ain't the people, but anyway.
Very clear. I want to make sure everybody who's going to watch this video that they're very
let
clear.
me come in.
Because my whole reason for having this interview is because of the fact that you all have been going in this life's journey having these symbols, right, for thousands of years.
Yes.
And you all didn't take nothing from the Europeans over there that they call Israel.
Rather, the Israelites imitates our tradition.
They copied from us.
The Israelites copied from us.
Please,
but because they have a wider broadcast, a wider media,
media.
They portray themselves
Yes.
as the true owners of this.
Yes.
We are the true owners of this.
Yes.
Though they are our brothers. Not Israelites. Though they are our brothers.
They're your brothers.
Yes.
Okay.
Israel.
The black.
They're their brothers. See, this is the problem we got right now, right? They are our brothers, them Ish folks over there. They are brothers. No, they're not. They're not.
Israel. Israel brothers.
They are our brothers.
Yes. Yes.
When you say you are an Israelite, you are our brother.
Yes.
Yes.
But you got to be real and truth.
You are the one to say the truth.
Yeah.
When you say you are an Israelite, you are our brother. If you are white and claim Israel, fine, you become our brother. But we know the color of our brother.
And what color is that?
You know the color.
What's the color?
Let
What's
me
the
see.
color?
What's your color?
Mine's black.
Yes, that's our color. So what I
That's
mean,
your color.
if you may, if please let me come in. Yeah.
Yes.
No.
No,
What
no.
I'm saying,
You know
yeah,
what?
I'll let you know to stop. Yeah.
yeah. What I'm saying is, we are the true Israelites.
Yes.
The Igbo people of Nigeria.
Are the original.
Not because some people are saying Eastern Nigeria. The Igbos are not only circled in Eastern Nigeria. We have Igbos in the northern part of Nigeria, which is Benue State.
Yes.
We have the Igbos of Cross River State.
Yes.
We have the Igbos of River State, Akwa Ibom State,
Even
Igbos of
even
Kogi.
Yoruba.
In Africa.
Yeah, we have
Because-
Igbos in Equatorial Guinea.
They will
Yes.
have a-
Igbo is one of the major tribes in Equatorial Guinea. So what I'm about to say is, we are the original Israelites. So take it to anywhere, take it to any debate, take it to any social media or any media platform. We are here to defend what we have here, rather than making logic, baseless logic.
Yes.
We have told you the true meaning of this.
Mm.
And we have told you the real meaning of this.
Mm.
The reason we use gold color,
Mm.
when you look at during the Biafran War,
Mm-hmm.
we have what we call the
Rising
Biafran rising sun. So this color represents sun.
Yes.
The yellow color
Yes.
represents the sun,
Mm.
which is in the Biafran coat of arms and the Biafran flag.
Mm.
While this blue and white represent the sky.
Mhm.
We didn't copy anything from Israel. Rather, they copied it from us.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Go on. Another.
So you heard it here first, family, of the Igbo people stating their claim of truth.
Yes.
The original
We are the original Israelites.
Israelites.
Yeah.
Israelites. I
Yes.
hear you.
Yes.
I was going to ask one more question.
Go on.
Israel.
Yeah.
I want you all to understand we've had conversations of Israel, this being the Holy Land, Jerusalem, and all that.
Yes.
Please watch my videos on that to come too, because I interviewed what's the king's name?
Okay. His Majesty is Dr. Chukwuemeka Ere.
So please watch those videos and others that while I am here in Igbo land, getting the true story of who we and they and us are. This is your man.
So they say the Israelites are black. We are black. We're the true Hebrews or the Igbos, right? We're the true Igbos. And all of the tradition that we see, right? All of the history that we've been through, right? From here on Tail Ministries, Dante Forson and others, all of the history we show validates all of this right now. One of the main points I want to make today is your understanding of geography, your understanding of social interaction, your understanding of managing, let's say, a civilization. Because if you have these levels of understanding, you're going to realize that that land in the Middle East ain't it. It's really, I guess at this point, self-deception if you want to believe the Middle East is our land. I'm serious. At this point, it's got to be self-deception. I'm like, if you look at this stuff and use the process of a preponderance of evidence, right, as they use in law, you use a preponderance of the evidence, it fails. The Middle East fails. So the question is then, who are the Jews? Where is Israel? Israel is the people. Israel is the people. And so when you think about what happened in the Old Testament, and you think about the wars that were fought, the thing that you should be thinking about is, how did they fight? Who were the people? Where did they live? How close could they have lived to each other to be fighting? If they lived too close to each other, no way they could ever rise up an army to come and get me, because we're always watching each other because we're so close. I'm watching them. They're watching me. We could never get attacked by the Amorites. We never get attacked by the Edomites. We never get attacked because we all living around the same circle, right? Based upon what they want you to believe today. So we have here lost and found the Jews of Nigeria, right? But he's Jewish. That was a very catchy title of a program hosted by my Hadassah chapter in San Francisco. Unfortunately, I got stuck in traffic on the Oakland Bay Bridge and never got to hear the talk. But the idea that there were Jews other than the ones I had grown up with, white and mostly Ashkenazi, fascinated me. Among the joys of travel, let me continue. Among the joys of travel is the opportunity to enjoy the natural beauty, cultural life, and unique food ways of these places. And when Joel and I travel, we always look for Jewish sites. But meeting new people in their countries is the thing that can bring a trip over the top. Now, just because we're not going further than the corner store these days, it doesn't mean we can't continue the global staycation that we started last month. This time, we'll continue our exploration of Jewish life in Africa, right? So, where was it? Skipped it. Okay, there we go. Now, just because we're not going further than the corners, okay, I did that in Africa. There we go. After the Assyrian conquest of Israel in the 8th century BCE, the victors carried away many captives, but the rest of the 10 tribes in the northern kingdom dispersed to the four corners of the earth. So they just got up and left, packed up their bags, and never to be heard from again. Never. See, like Dante said, when the Gentiles, when Christians get into stuff, they say they disappeared. We don't know where they at. Over the millennia, numerous theories have circulated as to the fate of these 10 lost tribes, like it was that hard. We weren't that far. And at least a dozen communities around the world claim descendancy from these ancient Israelites. Whether the Assyrian Jews of Kurdistan, see, now you got these different races of Jews, the B'nai Menashe in India, the Beta Israel of Ethiopia, or the Kafang Jews of China. Somebody make it make sense. These groups may indeed be members of the lost tribes, and why not? No, they're not. All the lost tribes, they all scattered around the world, but you still got a remnant that still in the land that they were taken from. After the Syrian route of Israel, one of the directors the refugees headed was southwest. Before there were nation states on the African continent, there were tribes, and it was into several of those tribes, in what is now Nigeria, that some exiled Jews assimilated, marrying and have children. The Yoruba Jews, numbering around 2,000, called themselves B'nai Ephraim, children of Ephraim, as they believe they are descended from the tribe of that name. And Anak, Ifik, and Igbo people also have ancient religious practices similar in Torah. So understand this, that we have proven over and over again that the 12 tribes are Negroes, that the 12 tribes are Black Africans. Some of y'all don't like the word African. I ain't no African. No, you African, right? You want to be a Native American Indian. No, you African, right? You're African Israelite. The largest group of Nigerian Jews is made up of members of the Igbo tribe, while missionaries converted most of the Igbo tribe to Christianity in the 19th century. And a small minority became Muslim in the 20th century. The proud Igbo Jews never forgot their origins. The intriguing documentary, Re-Emerging the Jews of Nigeria, follows the Jews of the Igbo tribe and their dedication to the faith of their ancestors. In the course of the film, a couple of Igbo Jews recall their parents telling them that they were descended from the Hebrews a long ago. Why were they descended from the Igbos or the Hebrews, right? Because it's really Igbos. The European transliteration transliterated it to Hebrews, but it's the Igbos. And that's why you had these nice, fine Hebrews or Igbos for sale in the United States. Then you had the Jews of Senegal. The history of the Jews in Senegal has its origins in the Jews of Balad el Sudan. We talked about all this in the past. Those Jewish communities in West Africa dating to the 14th century, today only a small number of Jews live in Senegal, mostly of foreign origin. I'm not going to read no more. What's the point, Yacoba? Point is this. You got the Igbo, who Jews, who have the traditions, who related to God, who's descended of Eri. Then you have the Yoruba, right? The Iwobo Yokwayim, right? You got them, right? They identify as Jews in Africa. We got all of the maps. We got all of the stories. We got everything that shows where the Jews were. Now, stick with me for a second. Because the fact that we know where all these Jews at, y'all gonna tell me that the Middle East is our home. Come on now. Y'all gonna tell me that Africa not the home. There was never a nation state called Israel ever in the history of this planet until 1948. If you want to know the land of the Jews or the land of the land of the Israelites is where the Israelites lived. They lived in sub-Saharan Africa, and some of them lived in northern Africa. Now, in my opinion, the land that was allocated to the Israelites was sub-Saharan Africa on down, from Niger River all the way down, all the way across to Ethiopia. That's where I believe the land that was given to us. But we did live in all of Africa, okay? We lived in Morocco. We lived in Algeria. We lived in Mauritania. We lived in, hey, we were exiled and we were scattered. We lived everywhere. Why is this important? It's important because if you use your common sense, you got to understand that all of these people could never have lived in the Middle East. You have to understand that all of these people could never, ever, forever, ever live in that little land area. Even if you allocate to them the land that's called Arabia, they could never live there. Understand that when we talk about history, history tells you about what happened, where these people migrated to, where they migrated from, who they fought. We've identified the fact that these black Jews in Africa has Hebrew Israelite customs and traditions. We've talked about that in other shows, about the customs of the Igbo, the customs of the Ashanti, the customs of all of these quote unquote black nations that are descendants of Jacob. Now, here's an article. It's the Reform Advocate, March 12th, 1904. Right? It says a missionary in the north of Africa gives the following details concerning that country. A Russian Jew resident at Mida gave him information concerning a great number of Israelites inhabiting the oases of the Sahara and dwelling also at Bather, Bis, Rabi, Taggart, Basra, Benin, Uzab, Lokas, etc. There are in each of these places as many as 100 Jewish families, and in some of them even more. In one place, he found 600 families with numerous synagogues and about 100 copies of the law. Where is this? In the Sahara. Synagogues and copies of the law. They'd be like, where's your history? Where's your parchments? Where's your Torah? Synagogues and hundreds of copies of the law written upon parchment, some of which were more ancient than any he had ever before seen. But this is not all. Other curious details reached Dr. Philip from another source, a Jew who had accompanied a German traveler as far as Timbuktu. Can we say Ashkenaz? A German traveler as far as Timbuktu found near the boundary of Barbary a large number of Jewish Negroes. Now, keep this in mind. The boundary of Barbary, or the Berbers, and we're going to talk about this because this is a complex thing as well. The boundary of Barbary and a large number of Jewish Negroes. So you had Jewish Negroes in the Barbary. Keep that in mind. So a large number of Jewish Negroes, nearly every family among them possessed the law of Moses. Who? Negroes? But they tell us we're not the Israelites. Nearly every family among them possessed the law of Moses, written upon parchment. Although they speak of the prophets, they have not their writings. Their prayers differ, containing numerous passages derived from the Psalms. These Jews have mingled some of the Mohammedan and the heathen. They enjoy equal liberty with other objects of the African chiefs, and with their black skin is this, that after the destruction of Jerusalem at the time of the first captivity, some of their ancestors, having neither goods nor lands, fled to the desert. The fatigue which they endured was so great that they nearly all females died on the way. The children of Ham received them with kindness, and by intermarriage with their daughters who were black, they communicated their color to their children. These children became, generation by generation, of a deeper hue until no distinction of color now distinguished the children of Shem from those of Ham. The form of their features, however, are quite different from that of the Negroes around them. These are highly interesting facts and create a strong desire that these unexplored regions may be speedily open to intercourse with the civilized world. Access to those ancient manuscripts, which are probably older than any other now extant, would perhaps be of great value in correcting the received Hebrew text or in throwing light upon doubtful passages. This is from the Reform Advocate, March 12, 1904. The National Library of Israel. Not the National Library of Harlem. The National Library of Israel. I didn't say it. They said it. They say they were Negro Jews. They say they were in the Sahara. They say they had the law. They say they had synagogues. I don't want to hear another person ever try to tell us we're not the people. Now, taking this as a research activity and using the brain cells that the Most High has given us, we need to analyze, okay, well, we have a bunch of African Jews who were living where? All over Africa. Living in Ethiopia, what we call Ethiopia today. Living in so-called South Africa, that we call South Africa today. Living in the Sahel, right? Living in the Sahara, right? Living in, we're going to talk about that. Because where were the Yoruba from? Where did the Yoruba say they came from? From Morocco. All right, so this is from an account of Timbuktu and Hausa territories in the interior of Africa. It said, Yehudi, a place of great trade. Yehudi means Jews. This place is reported to be inhabited by one of the lost tribes of Israel, possibly an immigration from the tribe of Judah. Yehuda in African Arabic signifies Judah. So Yehuda means Judah. And now don't forget, it says Yehuda in African Arabic signifies Judah. Yehudi signifies Jew. It is not impossible that many of the lost tribes of Israel may be found dispersed in the interior regions of Africa. Is that not what we found? All of the resources we researched, everything we found says where? The Jews are in Africa and they black. Come on now. Stop playing with me. Stop gaslighting. Admit it already. The Jews, the original, the OGs were black. When we shall become better acquainted with that continent, it is certain that some of the nations that possess the country eastward of Palestine, when the Israelites were a favorite nation, have immigrated to Africa. An immigration of the Amorites. Now listen to this. See, this shows you that some of the, at least in my opinion, some of the geographical points that they tell us is incorrect, right? Some of the rivers that they tell us, like, Euphrates, is incorrect, right? But anyway, an immigration of the Amorites are now in possession of the declivity of the Atlas Mountains, westward of the sanctuary of Muli Dris, and in the neighborhood of the ruins of Pharaoh. They live in encampments consisting of 2, 3, or 4 tents each. They resemble the Arabs of the desert in the predatory excursions. I speak from the practical knowledge, having twice traveled through their country and visited their encampments. So he said there's some Amorites where? In the Atlas Mountains. There's some Amorites where? In the Atlas Mountains. Where? Muli Dris. Amorites. What do they look like? See, they want us to believe that all of the fighting, all of the wars, all that stuff happened in that small strip of land. Impossible. Common sense. Amorites, Highlanders, or Hillmen. The name given to the descendants of one of the sons of Canaan, called Amora or Amori, in the Assyrian and Egyptian inscriptions on the early Babylonian monuments. All Syria, including Palestine, is known as the land of the Amorites. Now, that's known as the land of the Amorites. I don't believe that. I'm going to tell you why I don't believe Palestine is known as the land of the Amorites. First of all, Palestine is called really Philistines. That's where the root word comes from. The Tuaregs claim to have been descended from the Philistines. I talked about that in previous shows. So once again, I'm going to show you why I believe this isn't the place, right? It just don't make sense, but we'll see. The southern slopes of the mountains of Judea are called the Mount of the Amorites. There's no mountains out there, y'all. There's hills. There's no mountains in modern, what we call Israel. There's hills, right? So the southern slopes of the mountains, slopes are only really on mountains and not hills, okay? Slopes of the mountains of Judea are called the Mount of the Amorites. They seem to have originally occupied the land stretching from the heights to the west of the Dead Sea, which I disagree with. To have originally occupied the land stretching from the heights west of the Dead Sea to Hebron, embracing all Gilead and all Bashan, with the Jordan Valley on the east of the river, the land of the 2 kings of the Amorites, Sihon and Og. The 5 kings of the Amorites were defeated with great slaughter by Joshua. They were again defeated at the waters of Merom by Joshua, who smote them till there were none remaining. It is mentioned as a surprising circumstance that in the days of Samuel there was peace between them and the Israelites. The discrepancy supposed to exist between Deuteronomy 1:4 and Numbers is explained by the circumstance that the terms of Amorites and Amalekites are used synonymously for the Canaanites. Now, that's something I didn't know, that Amorites and Amalekites are synonymous with the Canaanites. They're the same. I didn't know that. In the same way, we explain the fact that Hivites are the Amorites. Compare Joshua and Samuel, also Numbers and Deuteronomy. Now listen to this. The Amorites were warlike mountaineers. There are no mountains in modern day Israel. Listen to me. Can y'all repeat after me, please? There are no mountains in modern day Israel. You might have hills, but repeat after me. There are no mountains in modern day Israel. All right. So the Amorites were warlike mountaineers. That means you got to have a mountain. They are represented on the Egyptian monuments. Now look how they're described. They're described as fair skinned, light hair, blue eyes, aquiline nose, and pointed beards. They are supposed to have been men of great stature. Their king Og is described by Moses as the last of the remnant of the giants. Both Sihon and Og were independent kings. Only one word of the Amorite language survives, Shenir, the name they give to Mount Hermon. Now, the Amorites were warlike mountaineers. They lived in the mountains because they were mountaineers. Fair skin, can we say white? Light hair, blue eyes, aquiline nose. Go back here for a minute in case you forgot. According to James Gray Jackson, the immigration of the Amorites are now in possession of the declivity of the Atlas Mountains. So we know that the Amorites are a warlike people that lives in the mountains. They're mountaineers. James Gray Jackson says that they immigrated to the mountains of the Atlas Mountains, near what they call the sanctuary of Muli Driss. That's in Morocco. So we see these things and we don't ask the right questions sometimes, because now we also got the description, right, from the Eastern Bible Dictionary that these Amorites had fair skin, light eyes, light hair, blue eyes, aquiline noses, and they live in the mountains. Now, this is what you call the Amazigh. Amazigh means Berbers. Light skin, light hair, and blue eyes. Living where? In the Atlas Mountains. I contend these people are the Amorites. But you must understand that when it comes to the word Amazigh, it really deals with everybody who's living in the Berberi or the Barbary. And you have Berbers who are black, like the Tuaregs. They're considered Berbers. But the Tuaregs themselves say they're Philistine. I read that to you. I gave you the book. The Tuaregs say they're Philistine. So they should be over there in the Middle East. But these people here are, they call now anybody who live in the Barbary, right? Berbers or Amazigh. Now there are Israelites who lived in Morocco, who lived in the Berberi or the Barbary. And we know that because that's where the Yoruba say they came from. Now think about this for a second. So the Yoruba, the Imo Yokwayim, say they lived in Morocco and they got kicked out. Now Israel used to fight these people called the Amorites. I contend that is the area where they fought the Amorites. I contend that these people here are the Amorites, light skin, blue eyes, fair hair, as the Eastern Bible Dictionary says. That's what they say. They say they got that from the Egyptians. That's how the Egyptians described them. But remember, Berbers were also Israelites, black folks, Negroes, because it just represents those who live in the Barbary, which is why you saw in some of the, like the black codes and stuff, where they would say the only people who could be slaves are Africans and people who are Berbers. Well, you ain't see no white folks over there being enslaved, right? So it was the black Berbers or the blacks who lived in the Barbary who were Israelites who ended up being enslaved. So Amazigh just means Berbers. And it also means barbarians. The term Berber derives from the Greek Barabaroi and the Latin Barbary, and was used by the dominant Arabs to designate those who spoke a different language. It is often regarded as pejorative today. In referring to themselves, tribal names are used, or the collective Amazighan, which means free or noble in their Tamazight language. The many dialects of the Tamazight language, along with tribal forms of organization, prevented them from cooperating easily among themselves. Although they constitute the majority of Morocco's population, each group was fiercely independent, and only emergencies led to ephemeral tribal confederation. Now, one of the things about the Amazigh is that the Amazigh were animists. Later on, some became Christian, some became Muslim. After independence, Amazigh were well represented in the Moroccan army and police force, but much less so in government. They very often felt isolated from central government as their patrons under the French lost their influence, and Amazigh tribal groups suffered accordingly. In the first 3 years of independence, there were 2 major tribal uprisings and constant rural agitation against Istiklal, the urban nationalist group which had led the independence struggle. The uprisings were crushed by the army and were used by the monarchy as an excuse to curb the political power of Istiklal. Istiklal, I guess. Istiklal. Amazigh resentment was formalized with encouragement from the monarchy in the formation of an explicitly Amazigh-based political party. The main causes of the Amazigh resentment included economic deprivation and a sense that the central government ignores their problems. Frustration is amplified as the Tamazight language is reduced in importance by constant migration to cities where Arabic is an essential means of communication and where Amazigh social structures are eroded. So, as James Gray stated, the Amazigh or the Berbers or the Amorites, and they live in the mountains of Atlas, the Atlas Mountains, which is by Morocco. I believe this is where a lot of the scenes that we see in the Bible happens, right? All of the wars that we fought, because Israel was all over. And Israel had tribal camps all over. And this is where they ran into these Amorites. Most people don't leave their homelands. They either kicked out of it or they stay there forever. I believe the Atlas Mountains is the home of the Amorites. That's what I believe. Now, according to modern maps and Christian archaeology sites, this is how the land of Israel was, apportioned. You had the Hivites here, the Sidonians here, the Girgashites here, the Canaanites here, the Amorites here, the Jebusites here, the Perizzites here, the Hittites here, Edomites here, Moabites here, Ammonites here, blah, 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 Armenians, Bashan. Okay, this is where we got to use our brains and use common sense, because common sense literally is not common. Okay, so Israel was living here too, right? But they got all these people they had to fight, right? Small land area, right? Common sense. If Israel was living here, the Canaanites was living here, the Edomites was living here, the Moabites was living here, the Hivites, the Gershites, all that Philistine, everybody was living here so close to each other. How the heck they ever went to war? Oh, you know what? Reuben, look over there. The Amorites, they're preparing for war. We better go hit them first. Oh, Jacob, look over there. See the Canaanites? Oh, see the Girgashites? We could see them. We watching them. They're watching us. You ain't never gonna go to war. Somebody got to control this territory. Use common sense. This is literally impossible. This is impossible from a nation-raising standpoint to a standpoint of war preparations, to the standpoint of food and water resources. Where they going to get their food from? Everybody going to be able to go to the Mediterranean and fish when the Philistines and the Sidonians are there? Everybody going to be able to go to the Sea of Galilee and get some fish when the Hivites and the Girgashites are there and the Israelites are there and they all enemies? But yeah, the Edomites going to be able to go there and fish too. They're going to be able to raise all of their animals with no problems. If you still believe this the land, something wrong with you. Answer those questions. Give me a 1 if they could never live in the same area like this. Give me a 2 if you think they could live in the same area. Give me a 1 if you think they could never live in the same area as they have in this map. Give me a 2 if you think they could. So now we have to rethink things. Now we have to think, okay, where did the battle of the Amorites occur? Where did the battle of the Jebusites? Because remember, the Jebusites was the ones who went and lived in the mountains. Y'all remember that, right? Where did the Jebus live? The Amorites said they live in mountains too. That's why they put them in these little hills right there and put the Hittites in here. But guess where the Hittites were? According to some maps, the Hittites, their land was in Turkey, according to certain maps. I've showed that in another video. But see, anybody who comes and gaslight you and say, well, Teo Ministries, they don't know what they're talking about. This our land. Well, get them to explain this. How could they all live here at the same time, share the same resources, eat from the same sea, and they all enemies? Somebody make it make sense. It can't be the land. Impossible. Common sense. But I know common sense ain't common. But see, we have people who live in Africa. We have all the maps that show the Jews lived in Africa. This is a map that Dante shared in his recent video. Right here in west coast of Africa, Gulf de Judah, the Gulf of the Jews. Everything about the Jews is in Africa, but Africa's not Israel, right? You see, because they brainwashed us to make us think that Israel is a nation state with these small boundaries as we see in the modern state of Israel. When Israel is a group of people and where they lived, where they settled, they were migrants. There was land allocated to them by the Most High, and that's where they settled. And there's so many maps, right? So many maps that show where the Jews live. Therefore, by logic, Africa is our home. By logic, the real nation of Israel is sub-Saharan Africa. At least in terms of the land that God allocated to us. I'm not saying that we didn't control almost all of Africa at one point, especially when Solomon was running things, right? So here we got, y'all saw this, Judeo-Terra. It's the Sonudo map, right? It's called Tabula X, right? Specifically says, go translate it from Latin to English, says land of the Jews. This is the land of the Jews in Africa. But y'all tell me the Middle East is there. Well, you know, Yacoba, Northeast Africa, you know, what we call the Middle East is part of Africa, you know. It might be part of Africa, but so is Egypt. Egypt wasn't our land. And I'm not saying at some point in time of our history, we did not control that, because at some point in time of our history, we had access to Yemen. As you saw in the early 1900 video that we shared, if you haven't seen it, it's over on Odyssey. The people who are Black Africans living in what you call modern Jerusalem. So we were there, but that's not Jerusalem. And it could have been part of the Abyssinian Empire, because some of the research I've done says it was. Which I believe, you know, at one point, the Abyssinian Empire was Jewish run, or run by Israelites. and it got taken over. But as I showed, we have the cultures, the heritage. We see what the Igbo saying about them having a star. You know, I believe it's the Star Rim fan had that for like thousands of years, right? But we gotta convince people that we the people. No, we ain't gotta do that because we didn't prove that 100 times over. And you got people like Garfield who's just a joke, right? People like Garfield, he's such a raccoon, right? People like Garfield, that Jamaican accent drives me nuts, right? He's such a weak dude. I don't like him. I don't like to say that too much, but I don't like him. Why? Because he's a freaking liar. I hate liars. He's such a twisted dude. He's a liar. Dante proved over and over and over and over and over again, Jews in the west part of Africa. And what did he do? Come in with that little Jamaican accent and throw in some ad hominem attacks and some gaslighting. Also, we have this map, right? And it says the 12 kingdoms or 12 royaumes, which is French. Everything points to the 12 tribes. This is the 12 tribes, 12 kingdoms in Africa. Same area where we saw where Judah was in the kingdom, right? But we supposed to be stupid. We're stupid. We can't read. We don't know what we're talking about. But the thing that gets me is some of our people the same way. Some of you Israelites the same way. Why? Because America, my home. This is where we from. You ain't got no proof for it. And why does it matter? I'm going to tell you why it matters. It matters because the only way you're going to understand what's happening in this world and the prophecies is to know that's the true land of Israel. Africa, specifically sub-Saharan, is the true land of Israel. And all of the prophecies is happening there. That's why the U.S. trying to build military bases over there south of the Sahel. That's why France is still trying to stay in the Sahel, because that's part of our land. It is called the promised land for a reason, because you got all the gold, you got all the silver, you got all the bauxite, you got all the minerals, you got all the animals, you got all the water, you got the rivers flowing through, several rivers flowing through, watering the land. But they gaslight us and tell us we stupid. No, the Middle East is our land. You don't know what you're talking about. Jerusalem is our land. Where the Ish people is, they're going to get kicked out and we're going to take over where they can have that. I don't want it. They can have that little dust bowl right there. I'll go over to the true land of Israel and go over to the true Jerusalem over there in East Africa. Over there in Ethiopia. Over there in Lalibela. Over there in Yeha. See, the problem is you're not convinced, and you'll never be convinced because you don't do your own research. And then if you do try to do your own research, you only do it to validate your beliefs. When does coincidence stop being coincidence? Why do I have 12 kingdoms on these Gentile maps? Why I have on these Gentile maps Israelites here, Israelites there? Why I have on these Israelites map in Africa, right? Pre-exilic Yahwism, right? Why I got all these names and cities and towns that sound like biblical names and cities and towns? Why do I find African people who got names just like in the Bible? Somebody make it make sense. But then all of a sudden, here they come with the gaslighting. Them black folks don't know what they're talking about. They think they're the only ones. No, I'm a Jew too. My family's Sephardic. You ain't Sephardic. Them Sephardic people were black. Y'all remember this, right? Jews exiled. Jews exiled. Where is this? Africa, Africa, Africa. Lamb. According to Idrisi, the land hereabout was peopled by Jews. And the Tabula X says also, this is the land of the Jews. But y'all want me to believe that the land of the Jews is in the Middle East. This is why I say ever learning and never coming to the knowledge of the truth. Ever learning and never coming to the knowledge of the truth. Look, you got people that look just like you that hate your guts. You got people that look just like you that claim to be for truth. You got people that look just like you that even claim to be Israel, but they don't like the traditions that Israel have. They don't like the African tradition. No, they got to go take the traditions of the Native American Indians. No, they got to go take the traditions of the Mexicans. They don't like African folks. Like I said, if you ain't descendant of an African and you ain't an African, then guess what? You ain't an Israelite. Period with a T. There's tons of evidence. Tons of evidence. We get the history from the Igbos. It lines up with the scriptures. Circumcised on the 8th day. Name the kid on the 8th day. The same practices they have when Yeshua was coming riding on a donkey and they put down the poem, what they call Palm Sunday. And Africans do the same thing for people of prominence. They put down things from trees and put down their cloaks and so they could ride over it, just like you see in the Bible. But we still up here having to defend ourselves. And they're going to tell you, okay, well, maybe some of y'all were Jews and maybe some of y'all ended up on the boats here in America, but it was a very small number. H to the no hockey sticks if you did the studies. Because we were targeted. It was called the Inquisition. As Dante recently said, it was the transatlantic slave war. The transatlantic slave war or slave trade was a continuation or a hidden means of continuing the Inquisition. We've covered it. Dante covered it. Other people covered it. Point being is, at this point, ain't no more covering it. Don't have to do it no more. The reason why I talk about this today, because I like what Brother Go Black is doing. He going straight to the horse's mouth. He's getting their testimony on film for record. So these hating, raccoonish brothers, y'all know who I'm talking about, throw in their ad hominem attacks and talk about how Israelites don't know what they're doing. They don't know how to read history. They don't know how to read the Bible. They can get it straight from the horse's mouth that, yeah, they say, yeah, we the original Jews and we're black. Did they not say that? Yes or no? Yes, that's what they said. Brother Go Black got him on camera. We are the original Jews and we're black. But you're talking about skin doctrine. What about the people over here? What about the people over there? What about the ones in China? What about the ones over here in the Middle East? What about the ones over here in Afghanistan? What about the ones over in India? Aren't they Jews too? Do they look Negro? Oh, there you go with the skin color again. But they want to gaslight you because all of a sudden a family ain't gonna look alike. I read to you in a particular article that they mixed with the Hamites and they got darker. So almost all of them were dark. I read it to you. I didn't write the paper. But when we say the Israelites are black folks, they hating on us. But when they say it and put it in their papers and say the Israelites were black folks, well, they didn't really mean black. Black don't mean black. Swarthy don't mean black. Y'all don't know what you're talking about. The gaslighting has to stop. It has to stop. It's old. It's old. Them Igbo elders told you that the true Israelites are them and that they are black. Now, he said, which I didn't really care for too much, that because they identify as Israel, he called them brothers. Hell no. I'm sorry, my language, family. Hell no. Because they identify as Israelites, their family. Hell no. No, they're not. You know what them people did to us? You know how they discriminate against us on the job? Do you know how the policies that they pass against us in the legislature? No. We're not the same. Obviously. We would have tried to get along, but they gaslight us. We would have tried to get along, but they take away our money. We would have tried to get along, but they tell us, hey, you're not Judah. You're the northern tribes. We're the royal house. No. We're not trying to get along no more. You know why? Because we different. That's why. We are the ecclesia. We are the called out. We are called to be separate. We ain't called to hang with the world, which is why we don't walk like the world. And guess what? We walk away from Israelites who don't walk according to that word. If that Israelite don't keep that law, statutes, and commandments, according to the grace and mercy of the Most High, according to his word, by the fruits of the Spirit, we ain't hanging with them. I'm telling you, I told you, I don't try to get along with everybody because everybody ain't following the Messiah. I don't try to get along with everybody because everybody don't care about living holy. Look, I'm going to say this and I'm going to say it again. And I told you, I feel y'all. When the Most High says, one grape out of a cluster of grapes going to be saved, I pause. Is my life correct? Am I living holy? Lord, am I going to make it in? One plant out of a great forest going to be saved. I pause. Lord, am I going to make it in? Lord, am I living right? I try to keep my heart right before you. 8 people were saved on the ark. Am I living right? Am I living holy? I'll have to pause. I got to check myself. I got to make sure I'm doing this for his glory, not mine. I got to make sure that even if I go through, I'm suffering, I'm sick, I got to go through and do what he called me to do. Because guess what? I don't want to find that everything I did was in vain. You see why I don't play? Y'all think I got this big love for Gentile folks? Because I said Gentiles could be saved? That's what the Bible teach. I teach what the Bible say. Gentiles could be saved. I ain't trying to make no friends, but if they want to make friends, we could be friends. That's how I roll. I deal with individuals. I don't deal with nations. I don't like their nation. Don't get it twisted. They're evil, corrupt, murderous as a nation. But you got individuals within the nations. Hey, you know, they're cool people. We can get along. We can hang. Some people, they got good hearts. I'm not going to push them away. But there's not going to be many. There's not going to be many. There's one good thing, though. The Most High says he's going to get all of Israel out of here, at least the ones who make it past the sword. And he's going to bring us in the wilderness, and he's going to deal with us there, and he's going to give us a new heart. From then on, You and your ancestors, you and your descendants will more than likely make it in. Still got to run the race. You got to finish the race. You can't stop halfway. You can't say once saved, always saved, because you ain't never made it across the finish line. So how you know? Did you win the race? Did you get the prize yet? Did you make it across the line? Did they run up to you and give you the roses? Until then, you don't know. You best do everything you can to live according to that word. You better do everything you can to be honest. You better do everything you can to love people and treat them as you want to be treated. You better not gaslight people, misrepresent people, tell half truths. Because guess what? You think because you Christian and you believe you get in. I'm sorry to tell you, it don't work like that. Lord, when did we do all these things in your name? I ain't never knew you. Did we not cast out devils in your name and in your name many wonderful works? I ain't never knew you. Some of y'all gonna hear that. I don't want to hear that. That's why I'm straight up honest. Some of y'all deceiving yourselves. If you don't think you not going according to that word and living holy and righteous and doing right to people and not lying on them, not misrepresenting them, not gaslighting them and telling them they're in a cult and all this stuff, you better check yourself before you wreck yourself, because you probably may not be able to cross the finish line. That's why the Bible tell you, run the race. You got to complete the run. You got to make it to the end, keeping the faith. Well, if they were all of us, they never would have left. Some of y'all going to leave because you ain't of the Messiah. Some of y'all going to leave because your heart ain't right. Some of y'all going to leave because you don't trust the Most High. Some of y'all going to leave because you don't love him more than you love yourself. I've learned, yes, Lord. Jacob, I want you to do this. Yes, Lord. Jacob, don't do that. Yes, Lord. Yes, Most High. Whatever you say, Most High. I don't have no will. I don't have no will. Yes, Father. Yes, Yeshua. Whatever you say, whatever your word says, Father, I'll do it. That's me. That's me. I don't know about you, but that's me. I don't play games. I'm trying to get in. See, Christianity got you lukewarm. Christianity got you sitting on your butt thinking you ain't got to do nothing. Christianity got you thinking you can sin all you want and you're going to end up in the kingdom. No, it don't work that way. It took me a long time to figure out Christianity. Oh, yeah, it's a white supremacist religion. That's what it is. It's a religion. It took me a long time to figure that out. And that religion is run by a bunch of white folks and a bunch of black folks and other colored folks as well. It's a religion. Yeshua is not a religion. His word is not a religion. The culture of Israel is not a religion. There's laws for a nation. Laws for a nation to serve their God. Laws for a nation how to be obedient and please their Elohim. Religion ain't getting you in. What does the Most High want? Love and a contrite heart, humility, truthfulness, humble. I'm telling you, most people ain't getting in. Don't that scare you? A grape from a cluster of grapes, a plant from a forest, a great forest, But some of y'all don't have ears to hear. Some of y'all can't listen. Some of y'all can't even say, well, you know what? Is what he's saying the truth? Could I be incorrect? Could my Christian doctrine be off? Could my Israelite doctrine be off? You accepting Tokoism? You off. You denying the deity of Christ? You off. You think that law done away with? You off. You think you ain't got to do nothing but believe? You off. I'm going to say a few little things and I'm going to wind it up. There's something wrong in this world, more so than in the past. It's wicked, and it's beyond what it was in the past. Why? Because it seems like the devil has been released. People are seeing ghosts. People are seeing giants. People are seeing aliens. People are seeing demons. People are seeing all kind of things, weird stuff. People seeing PMO, people with grim-like features. But all things remain the same. Y'all still the same. Y'all still living. Y'all still going check to check. Y'all still doing the things you used to do. Y'all ain't got no fear in you that maybe I should be living right. Maybe I should change my life. Maybe I shouldn't do that. Maybe I should marry that girl instead of sleeping with her all the time. Maybe she should marry that boy instead of having a high body count. I'm just saying, y'all got issues because you can't see what's happening. People talking about big bombs being dropped. People talking about tsunamis coming. We seeing major tornadoes and earthquakes, but you don't care because all things remain the same. And you got people like us who warn you and warn you and warn you, just like we warned y'all about the lollipop, but you wanted to eat it anyway. We tried so much to help y'all, but only a remnant getting in. A grape from a cluster of grapes. I don't know about you, but I feel my mortality. As y'all know, I've been dealing with health issues for a few years now. I feel my mortality. I ain't even eat a lollipop and I'm dealing with stuff. Can you imagine? I feel my mortality. I pray to the Most High I make it. I pray that I make it into the wilderness. I pray that we all make it into the wilderness. I pray that we all live a holy and righteous life. I pray that we all do good. I pray that we all successful. I pray that all our needs are met. But this world is sick. It is more so than when I was young. It is filthy. This world is ugly. This world is crazy. This world need a psychiatrist. That's how bad it is. It is sick. Oh, I think I'll be a little doggy today. Oh, I think I'm going to be a cat today. Oh, I think I'm going to be a giraffe today. This is the days of Noah. Something has been released. I know you can sense it. I don't know if CERN did it. Maybe CERN opened some portals and some demons stepped through. I don't know. But everything's a lie. Everywhere you look, a lie. The lie's been since we got kicked out of the garden, aka the promised land. Everything they teach you is a lie. And you think that land is your land. Whatever. I'm going to keep on it. For those who want to hear, I'm going to keep on it. And I'm going to tell you another thing. If you want to go learn more about the land and where the true land is, go to odyssey.com. ODYSEE.com and go look for Tail Ministry. Because it's part for you to understand what's going on. Because if you know where the true Israel is and you know where the true Jerusalem is, everything that happens in the Middle East, you will not be deceived by. When they delete those red heifers, it ain't going to mean nothing to you. When they do some supernatural one day in the Middle East and have some man come out of a spaceship, I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm just saying if it did, you're going to know that's a lie. When they come out with that false Messiah, you're going to know he's a lie. Everything that happens over there, you ain't got to pay attention to it other than the fact that you know that God is judging some folks. Because that ain't our land. They ain't the people. We the people. Peace and blessings, Israel. Your captivity is, and they love you with the love of the Messiah. If you want to support us, you can by becoming a patron. You also can give at Cash App, $TEOTW 7101, $TEOTW 7101. You can also go to giftgivingforall.com and get a mug, t-shirt, hoodies, all that good stuff. I can't tell you what's going to happen. I just know we at the end of things. I don't do dates. I just feel in my spirit. I don't know how far off it is, but something major is near, whatever that may be. And it seems like they're preparing for it. So support us if you can, financially, spiritually, prayerfully, giving a thumbs up, giving a like, share, subscribe. And that's one thing. Do check your subscription because people do keep getting unsubscribed from us. They sure do a good job suppressing our numbers, but it's okay. I don't do this for numbers. Love y'all, and please support the Dry Bones Project.